Hey, I'm back again. You know, starting to feel a little better. Just ever since I started, I was talking about my mom and all that, worried about. But then I got to talking about school, my school days and stuff, thinking about the good old days. Starting to feel a little better. I just came in. My son said I looked like I had a smile on my face. I seem more happier now and less worried. Yeah, just thinking about sometimes it fun days from childhood, going to school. No, I didn't have good times in middle school, but there I had to look at the good side of things. Look at the fun parts of let's look for the funny parts of it. But yeah, it was live in Miss Henderson's class, and Daryl Brown. I don't know if you on here yet, but yeah, you was a year older than me. You was in the 8th grade when I was in the 7th grade. We had Miss Ensweiler. Miss Ensweiler was there for about a year, and then she got married, had a baby, and she became a stay-at-home mom. But no, Miss Ensweiler, I loved having her as a teacher. Oh, I loved having her as a teacher. Now, then next year, remember Miss Adams Davis? Well, she wasn't there the next year for 8th grade, but I think I would have been better having her. But oh man, no, we got Miss Henderson. She was scared. I used to be scared of Miss Henderson. I tell you what, you had to work your ass off in her class. And I'm telling you what, I remember the first time we had her telling her, she said she was strict. We had to have all these spiral notebooks and stuff. 20 book reports. What was his name? Robert Weimer, whatever his name was. Oh, you know what they did? Because Miss Henderson made us do 20 book reports. Well, they said they put a loogie or something in her car, and it stunk her car up or something. They got mad because they didn't want to do those book reports. And I'm telling you what, you had to do every one of them. You had the whole school year to do them book reports. And if you didn't do them, guess what? It didn't matter if you had an A in her class. You would automatically flunk. Like hardly any of us got A's in her class anyway. I had D's in her class. I was a good student in Eastern Hills, but that was one class I didn't do good in. No, I didn't do as good the next following year. I got into shit I shouldn't have got into. I was starting to do things getting in crowd doing shit. You know how it was. Hey, you know how Eastern Hills was. Yeah, I basically went from being a geek to a wild child. Yep. I had all B's. If I work, like I said earlier, if I worked my butt off, if I did work, I did the job, did my work like I was supposed to, I got A's, B's, and I got mostly B's and C's. And that's what I got 7th grade. B's and C's. Remember Mr. Brown's class, man? I had Mr. Hooks next year. Do you remember Mr. Hudson when he taught there? Well, Mr. Hooks took over. I didn't do too good in his class at first. Well, I'll tell you why. I did better in the Ohio Studies class. It was a social studies class. I did okay in that. But as far as the science class, it was a little harder for me. See, that's the problem. If the class did not retain my focus or my attention, I didn't do good in the class. See, Mr. Brown's class, you had the blue book. The blue science book was life science. Stuff like biology, environmental science, that good stuff. I did good in that stuff. And that kind of science, I did well in it. But when it came to physics, chemistry, which was what the red book was, I couldn't understand it. I used to get bored, learn about this. I don't know, whatever the hell it learned about. I liked learning about earthquakes. I liked learning about organisms, weather, all this stuff that life science would teach you. In fact, actually when I was in high school, if I was in high school or college, a lot of people took all the three, I guess if they were smart enough back then, you took all three of the sciences that they had you take in high school. You took biology, you took chemistry, and you took physics. Well, I'll tell you, I took biology at McNick and failed that motherfucker. I had to drop it. But see, it wasn't the class. I could have done okay in the class. It was the teacher. Miss Bowman was hard. You know how many people failed her class and had to drop it? You should, at least half of her class, I'd say. If you was in class, with biology class with me, at least, well, see, I was in a class with a bunch of smart kids. But I'm going to tell you, at least about maybe 10 of us dropped that class. Man, everybody was dropping Miss Bowman's class. We was in study hall or library. I think I was in library. I had 2 study halls. I had 2 study halls, didn't I? I had a study hall, and then I had what class I was. I had a library. I worked in the library. I was at McNick, a sophomore year. But like I said, I didn't go to class anyway. But then there was times I did try. Like there was once, like I got the first F on my midterm. Well, I actually did go and take there was like a quiz she had us take. Mom even helped me study. I went in there and I still flunked that damn quiz. Because you know why? This is why her class was so fucking hard. Is there anybody from McNick that comes on here and had Miss Bowman, they would know what I was talking about. It was not a high school. She made it like a college level course. You couldn't understand when she was trying to teach you something. You could understand something from the book. But you know what she did when she gave you the test questions? She didn't take the test questions from the book. She would take those questions and make you, the answer wouldn't be in the book. You basically had to figure out, it's like a statistics thing, God, it was so hard. I flunked it. I'd say I missed 3. I don't know how many questions I missed. It was a 5-question quiz, and I missed 3 of them. I think I only got 1 or 2 of the questions right. She was fucking hard. Harder than shit. Could have studied. See, that was the same thing with Miss Combs' religion class in freshman year. When I did study, it didn't matter how hard my ass tried, I still failed it. So you know what? I said just fuck it. And like I said, I did better going to summer school and taking the religion class. It was easier to understand, but Miss Combs made it hard too. A lot of them teachers at McNick made things hard. But I guess, like I said, when it's a private school, a Catholic school, they're going to be harder. But not always, Purcell wasn't that hard. But it wasn't as cheap. Like, if you had I didn't really have access to a private education. Even though I went to McNick for 2 damn years and got expelled. I still couldn't go to a lot of the other schools. If there was other Catholic schools I wanted to go to, I wouldn't have been able to go because my parents couldn't afford it. So, when you talk about people having access to a private education, well, I really didn't. Because, like I said, my parents never did have money to send me to a private school. And they barely had enough to send me to McNick. But it was either, basically it was this. It was either go to McNick or go to the assigned private or the public school that you had to go there and get killed. Go across town, get on a bus, which mom and dad didn't want me to get on a bus to have to go to school. Mom and dad made me go to the stinking school up the street, and it didn't matter if it was a Catholic school. But I couldn't, I didn't like this, couldn't stand this. Oh, I hated it. I hated that school. I got kicked out. I got kicked out. I guess I got kicked out on purpose, which I did. I said, if my mom and dad weren't going to take me out of this school, I'll get myself out of here. I said, mom and dad wasted money to send me to this damn school. And, here I don't, would you want to pay for your kid to go to school when they're going to go in there and just fuck up? I don't think so. Maybe if they went in there and say if they went to public school and got A's and B's, but instead they got all C's, the private school was harder, but you can't get mad at them for that because, they're learning something. They're at least doing what they're supposed to do, but they're learning something. It's just like Walnut Hills, up in Cincinnati. It was a college prep. It's a college prep high school. You had to be smart to get in that school. They said Walnut Hills is one of the best schools in the country, and it is. Oh, it's an awesome Walnut Hills. Man, if I was able to get in that school and do the job and be able to stay in there, I feel on top of the world. But my brother went there. He only got like 5 points above what he had supposed to have, but he went in there and flunked English. He didn't do too well in middle school, so mom and dad took him out, and he went to a public school. They sent him to this other public school. It was out in the suburbs. They moved to a different neighborhood, and that's when I moved to Moorhead and went away to college. So that was like a different chapter that started. But I was just talking about, because you had to take a test to get in Walnut Hills. I didn't pass it. I didn't pass it. I was not good at school at all. Miss Cynthia, if you're watching this video, I don't know, see, Ohio's different. Ohio schools are hard. You go north, you ever hear about north when you go up to Ohio, Michigan, places on the East Coast, up north, schools get hard. But then when you go south, like Kentucky schools were easier than Ohio schools. But then we went down, mom and dad tried to move to Florida one time and found out, not saying Florida schools were that good, but mom said if we had moved down there, see, my brother was the type. Well, see, he didn't do good at Walnut Hills. See, that's where he didn't understand you had to study to get the good grades. But if he went to a regular public school, my brother could get a 3.5 GPA and not have to open a book. And he didn't open a book in high school. He hardly ever opened a book. And look what he got. I wish I had as smart as my brother did. I wish I could have done good in school and not to have to work my ass off just to get a B. Shit. I worked my ass off to get a 3.0. A B average. Barely. Shoot, some classes I had worked my ass off. I was lucky I got a C. No, my brother didn't have to do much at all. It's because he probably, like I said, he didn't have the things that I had wrong with me. He didn't have attention problems. He didn't have the comprehensive issues of trying to understand some shit. That stuff. See, I had things wrong with me. He did. No, my brother did. My brother was the type, though. You probably had to keep him in classes you did not want to put him in a class, the classes I took, just the general classes, like, you're on level, but you're basically just taking general classes. He got bored in them classes. Wouldn't know what to do. You wouldn't be able to keep him busy. Mm-hmm. He had a couple honors classes that he took, or accelerated classes. See, I'm trying to think. My brother, he took after me. Mom and Dad, what's funny? My mom and Dad used to do good in school. My mom was valedictorian. And my dad, he was just like my brother. He got B's and did well. My dad said there was one time he got a D, 1D, in his whole life. But other than that, he did the same as my brother and Dad didn't have to study or open a book. In fact, like my brother and my dad, they both have a talent for math, My dad was even in this math contest for high school students in high school up in Dayton, and he was one of the best in the city, is what they said. See, my mom did good in everything, but her best subject was English, social studies, and stuff like that. And my dad, he was good at math. Now everybody's sitting here, but see me, I'm not nothing like my family at all. I was nothing like my family. I went to college, of course I did okay. I had to study. But see, I got aunts and uncles that didn't do good in school. So my parents didn't do good. Like I said, my parents did good in school, but I think I took after my aunts and uncles more than my parents because it's so funny. My mom and my auntie. My auntie was salutatory because now she went to a bigger school up in Dayton. See, Mom and Dad grew up in my mom, Dad both grew up in Dayton, Ohio. Mom graduated from Kaiser. My aunt graduated from Orville Wright's or whatever. Was there a Orville Wright high school or somewhere up in there? I forget what it was. But she got second best. We call that salutatorian. She got that. Those people that you go to school with, the straight A student, and say they have a sister, they're on the A honor roll too. Well, that's how it was with my mom and aunt. Now on my dad's side, it was different. Now I had an aunt who did better than my dad, and she used to tease him about not getting in the honor society. Now my uncle Keith, they said he didn't do good in school. In fact, when he went to high school, he took some kind of co-op or something. Because, what I'm saying? I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but actually, a co-op is better. I think sitting in high school class is a waste of time, in my opinion. But, I'm glad they came up with co-op opportunities for people that, school ain't for everybody. You know what I'm saying? School ain't for everybody. And then my other aunt, of course, she flunked the 4th grade. And she almost flunked the grade again in high school. Now, my aunt wasn't good in school, didn't do good in school. Even my grandpa was her teacher. Grandpa was a school teacher, and he often taught in the same school that she gone to. Like I said, my aunt this was basically, we went to school at a time when they just didn't have classes for us, We weren't, our IQ or whatever level we was at, we weren't dumb enough. I'm not saying dumb enough, but we weren't where we can get in the ECE classes, exceptional child education class. We weren't basically, we tested on levels, just what we needed was classroom modifications to the class so we can function and get the grade in class, We needed like I said, we needed classes where there was probably no more than 10 students, where you had more personalized attention, somebody to keep you focused. You had to have a teacher to keep you focused, somebody to work with you more, basically. Someone made sure you paid attention, and if you had trouble comprehension, you needed somebody to work with you more on it. And then nowadays they got classes like that for these kids. In fact, you know what? I used to be a substitute teacher, and I worked with kids like me. I worked with kids just like me. And I was just talking about the book reports we had to do versus having to do half of, like for literature English, they make you read a certain book. She has a certain novel she wants you to read. He or she tests you for it over the. Why am I saying she? Because you know what? Because most English teachers are women. You know, you look at the English teacher being a woman, math teacher is a man teacher. I don't know what it is. I liked men teachers. You know, when you're little, you don't have that many men teachers. Nowadays, you do. But used to be back in elementary school, you had all women teachers. And then, but then once you got to about 5th or 6th grade, you might have a man teacher. But you started getting all your man teachers in junior high and high school. Oh, God. I had one class, Mr. Apty. I flunked his class freshman year. That class sucked. Yeah, he flunked me. Where's Brian Beatty? Does he have a Facebook we could get on here and talk about Mr. Aptyhead? Oh, and I remember Paul and Brian Beatty used to fart in his class all the time. And we had to open the windows to get the farts out. That's all he did was fart in class. Well, they wind up failing too. That was another reason I flunked. I was disruptive in class. I used to act up all the time. You think, yeah, you could tell I was somebody that acted up in class. It used to be on my report card. Disruptive in class. And even if I did good in class, there was a star there saying, denotes a behavior problem. I'm a behavior problem in class. I act up all the time. If you all worked with me places, you remember how I used to act up at work? Shoot, I act up in class all the time. Yep. You know, I used to be so bad in school that, yeah, Miss Henderson had to sit me away from everybody. She had to have she basically put my desk off in the corner somewhere so I wouldn't act up in class and be disruptive around other students. Actually, a few teachers used to send me out in the hall. Sometimes I even got an office referral. I even used to go to the principal's office. Please, Joy, report to the principal's office. I even act up at Bridgehaven in art class. I still act up in school. But I have fun acting up in school. I don't want to do my work. I'm going to sit here and fart in class. I'm going to fart in class. Well, I'll be back after these messages.